Melanie just said was for 5, right?
Yeah. So number 5 was, what does the writer want to tell his sister he wants to accomplish? He wants to go where no man has ever gone before. And then where is he headed after leaving Russia? To Archangel. Number 6, we're about to find out the answer to. I shall depart for the latter town in a fortnight or 3 weeks, and my intention is to hire a ship from there, which can easily be done by paying insurance for the owner, and to engage as many sailors as I think necessary among those who are accustomed to whale fishing. I do not intend to sail until the month of June, and when shall I return? Dear sister, how can I answer this question? If I succeed, many, many months, perhaps years, will pass before you and I meet. If I fail, you will see me again soon or never. Farewell, my dear Margaret. Heaven shower down blessings on you and save me, that I may again and again testify my gratitude for all your love and kindness. Your affectionate brother, R. Walton. So number 6, who's writing the letters? R. Walton, that's your answer. And don't worry about number 7. You guys are going to do number 7 on your own after we do letter 2. So once you're done, you can flip over to the back. All right. Wake up, everybody. Wake up, wake up, wake up. I know it's hard staying awake for this. Wake up. All right. We're going to do letter 2. I'm going to make it as painless as possible, and then you'll have a few questions to answer on your own. So you're about halfway through listening to me read. Letter number 2 to Mrs. Seville, England. Archangel, 28th of March, 17-something. So, he's made it to Archangel. The first letter was from St. Petersburg. The second one was from Archangel. How slowly the time passes here, encompassed as I am by frost and snow. Kind of like how you guys feel, how slowly the time moves when you have to listen to Frankenstein. That's how he's feeling in the middle of his boat surrounded by water. Yet a second step is taken towards my enterprise. I've hired a vessel, and I am occupied in collecting my sailors. Those whom I have already engaged appear to be men on whom I can depend, and who are certainly possessed of dauntless courage. So, he has bought a boat, in other words, hired a vessel, and he's gotten a crew. So that's your answer to number 8 on the back under letter 2. What steps has he taken to accomplish his goal? He got a vessel and a crew. Number 8 on the back, he got a vessel and a crew. Okay, he got a vessel and a crew. But I have one want, which I have never yet been able to satisfy, and the absence of the object of which I now feel as a most severe evil. I have no friend. Margaret, when I am glowing with the enthusiasm of success, there will be none to participate in my joy. If I'm assailed by disappointment, no one will endeavor to sustain my dejection. I shall commit my thoughts to paper, it is true. But here is a poor medium for the communication of feeling. I think that we can all relate to this, not saying we don't have friends, we do, of course, but we've had moments where we really needed a friend and we didn't have one. Moments that could have been so much happier if we had someone to share it with. That's what he's talking about. Okay, these are feelings that as humans, that's part of our humanity, is to feel lonely sometimes, to feel alone. And he's saying, yes, I can write you this letter, but it's not the same as sitting here talking to somebody. And we might relate to that. Yes, I can talk to somebody on social media. We went through this during the pandemic. All that social media was great, but it wasn't the same as sitting face to face across from someone. There's just something lost there sometimes. I desire the company of a man who would sympathize with me, whose eyes would reply to mine. In other words, he wants to look at somebody. You may deem me a romantic, my dear sister. Now, when he says romantic, he is not talking about like dating, like romance, what we typically think of as romantic. This was during what was called the Romantic Age. It's where they started talking about feelings more. So when they say romantic, they're more saying like sensitive, emotional. So he is not talking about finding a girlfriend. He probably wants a girlfriend, but that's not what he's talking about right now. He's really just talking about a friend. Even when he talks about romantic, it's not what we think. It's just different back then. It was just more of like sensitive and emotional. So you might deem me a romantic, my dear sister, but I bitterly feel the wants of a friend. I have no one near me, gentle yet courageous, possessed of a cultivated as well as capacious mind, whose tastes are like my own, to approve or amend my plans. Meaning, I have no one to tell me when I'm messing up, and no one to tell me congratulations when I do things right. I am too ardent in execution and too impatient of difficulties. Oh wait, how would, I skipped a line. How would such a friend repair the faults of your brother? He says, I'm too ardent in execution and too impatient of difficulties. He's pointing out flaws in himself that he thinks if he had a friend that might help counteract some of that stuff. But it is still greater evil to me that I am self-educated for the first 14 years of my life, that I ran wild on common and real nothing, and read nothing but our Uncle Thomas's Book of Voyages. At that age, I became acquainted with the celebrated poets of our own country, but it was only when I had ceased to be in my power to derive in most important benefits from such a conviction that I perceived the necessity of becoming acquainted with more languages than that of my native country. Now, I am 28, and I am in reality more illiterate than schoolboys of 15. All right. He tells her one thing he wishes he had is what? A friend. That's number 9. That's part of number 9. Quite simply, he doesn't think he's going to find one because he's in the middle of the ocean. So number 9, he wishes he had a friend. He's not going to find one. He doesn't think he's going to find one because he's in the middle of the ocean. So that's your answer for number 9.
My bad. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
But not
Yeah.
Where were you at?
Nothing. Well, I was just. I had to handle something. It was very important. Yeah.
We're on page 2. We're in back. Alright, so number 9, he wishes he had a friend. He's not optimistic he's going to find one because he's in the middle of the ocean. And then how old is he? Did anyone catch it?
26.
Close, 28. Very good. He is 28. So number 10, right? 28.
Number 2.
Wait,
I'll
number
be going
what?
for a little minute.
Number 10.
Hey, Mark. Go. Yeah.
You need a pencil?
No.
You can get the answers from somebody at the end. Alright, so we did number 9. He wishes he had a friend, but he's not hopeful or optimistic of finding one because he's in the middle of the ocean. Then we're on number 10. He is 28. Who remembers how he became educated?
Self-taught.
Very good. Yes, he is self-taught, so that's your other part of number 10.
Wait, so I'm just, 'cause I'm
It's
very,
quite hard to come in.
it's my fault, so I can't.
Okay. One thing he wishes he had is a friend. A good friend right there. And then he doesn't think he's gonna find one because he's in the middle of the ocean.
Is he stranded? Or is he just?
He's not stranded, he actually chose to go there.
Time for a decision.
Yeah, he works. How old is he? 28.
No, but it's still a mystery of why he's even in this story. Okay, and then,
My hair right cut like.
oh, you got it, you're good, okay. Alright, then don't worry about number 11 right now. So we're almost done. The only other one we're gonna do on here together is number 12. Number 13, you can cross off, we're not doing 13. So let's figure out what happens in the rest of this letter. Alright, so now I'm 28 and in reality more illiterate than many schoolboys of 15. It is true that I have thought more and that my daydreams are more extended and magnificent, but they want, as the painters call it, keeping. And I generally need a friend who would have sense enough not to despise me as a romantic and affection enough for me to endeavor to regulate my mind. While these are useless complaints, I shall certainly find no friend in the wide ocean, not even here in Archangel among merchants and seamen. Yet some feelings unallied to the dross of human nature meet even as these rugged bosoms. My lieutenant, for instance, is a man of wonderful courage, an enterprise. He is madly desirous of glory, or rather, to word my phrase more characteristically, of advancement of his profession. He is an Englishman in the midst of national and professional prejudices, unsoftened by cultivation, retains some of the noblest endowments of humanity. I first became acquainted with him on board a whale vessel. Finding that he was unemployed in this city, I easily engaged him in my enterprise. So he finds this man who he realizes would be a good person for his crew, so he hires him. The master is a person of excellent disposition and remarkable in the slip for his gentleness and the mildness of his discipline. The circumstances, added to his well-known integrity and dauntless courage, made me very desirous to engage him. A youth passed in solitude, and my best years spent under your gentle and feminine fosterage has so refined the groundwork for my character that I cannot overcome an intense distaste to the usual brutality exercised aboard a ship. So he wanted this guy to run his ship because he does it gently. Okay, he's not. When you're running a ship, it's a lot like, it can even be like running a school. So me as a teacher, do you all learn better when I yell at you or threaten you? Or if I'm gentle with you and treat you like people, are you more willing to do what I ask? You're more willing to do what I ask if I treat you like people, right? Well, that's kind of what he's saying. Back in those days, the way they ran ships was just old school brutality. They were just really harsh on these people. But this man was not like that. He ran the ship in a gentle way and treated them like people, and so he liked that. And he says that's because he was self-taught and his sister kind of sheltered him a little bit. I just think he knows what's up because I think that's the way it works. So he hires him. He says, I have never believed, flipping over to page 16, it to be necessary. And when I heard of a mariner equally noted for his kindliness of heart and respect and obedience paid to him by his crew. I felt myself particularly fortunate in being able to secure his services. So he's lucky. He says, I'm lucky I got this guy. I felt myself particularly fortunate in being able to secure his services. I heard of him first, rather in a romantic manner, from a lady who owes to him the happiness of her life. This, briefly, is his story. So now he's going to tell us a little story about this guy and what makes him so cool, or one of the things that makes him cool. Some years ago, he loved a young Russian lady of moderate fortune, and having amassed a considerable sum of prize money, the father of the girl consented to the match. So in other words, he found this girl that he really liked. And back in those days, the father would sell the daughter to marry whoever could give him the most money. It's really crazy sounding now, like we can't imagine. That's just how it was back then. So he came to buy this wife, paid the father all this money, and we're gonna see what happens. He saw his mistress once before the designated ceremony, but she was bathed in tears. And throwing herself at his feet, entreated him to square her, confessing that at the same time she loved another, but that he was poor and that her father would never consent to the union. So when he goes and wants to marry the girl that he paid to marry, she's crying, like she's devastated at this marriage, and he wants to know what's up. And come to find out, she's already in love with somebody else. But the person she's in love with is not rich, and her father will not agree to her marrying out of love. It was just a business transaction, all about the money. My generous friend reassured the applicant, the woman, that on being informed of the name of her lover, instantly abandoned his pursuit. So he immediately gave up trying to get this lady. He had already bought a farm with those money on which he had designed to pass the remainder of his life, but he bestowed it on the whole to his rival, together with the remains of his prize money, to purchase stock, and then himself solicited the young woman's father to consent to the marriage with her lover. So this man, really good guy, already paid the money to marry this woman, but when he sees her throwing herself at his feet, begging, please don't make me marry you, I love somebody else, he takes that money that he was paid, he takes the house that he bought with that money and gives it to the other guy, the poor guy, just so this lady could marry the person that she really loves. And then he gives up the rest of his prize money to buy them some stock, which is how they're going to feed themselves, and even goes as far as to convince the daughter's father that this is how it should go. So when he does this, it says the old man decidedly refused. That father was not going for it. So he quitted his country and didn't return until he heard that the former mistress was married according to her inclination. So he left the country and would not come back until the father let this girl marry who she loved, which is how it should be, of course. What a noble fellow, you will exclaim. He is so, but then he is wholly uneducated. He is silent as a Turk, and a kind of ignorant carelessness attends him, which, while it renders his conduct the more astonishing, detracts from the interest and sympathy which otherwise he would command. He says he's kind of dumb, though. The guy's kind of dumb, is basically what he's saying at the end. See, he's just not the smartest in the world. And remember, this guy's kind of arrogant. So he has that in him to look at people and think, well, you're not quite as smart as me, right? Because he thinks highly of himself. Which I'm not saying is necessarily always a bad thing. It's just part of the story. Yet do not suppose, because I complain a little, or because I can conceive of a consolation for my toils, which I may never know, that I am wavering in my resolutions. He said, don't think because I'm lonely out here I regret coming here, because I don't. I may never know that I am wavering in my resolutions. They are as fixed as fate, and my voyage is only now delayed until the weather shall permit my embarkation. The winter has been dreadfully severe, but the spring promises well, and it is considered as remarkably early season, so that perhaps I may sail sooner than I expected. I shall do nothing rashly, and you know me sufficiently to confide in my prudence and considerateness, whether the safety of others is committed to my care. So the answer to number 12, they haven't left yet because it's not safe until the weather is better. It's not safe. And he has a crew that he hired that he feels responsible for, And he says he may be excited and want to leave, but he won't leave until it's safe because he has a crew he has to be responsible for. But what you just need to put is that it's not safe to leave. Alright, we're almost done. We're almost done with me reading. And then you guys will just have a couple of questions to answer on your own, and then we'll be done for the day. He says, I cannot describe to you my sensations on the near prospect of my undertaking. It is impossible to communicate to you a conception of the trembling sensation, half pleasurable, half fearful, with which I am preparing to depart. I'm going to unexplored regions, to the land of mist and snow. But I shall kill no albatross, therefore do not be alarmed for my safety, or if I should come back to you as worn and woeful as the ancient mariner. You will smile at my illusions, but I will disclose a secret. I have often attributed my attachment to my passionate enthusiasm for the dangerous mysteries of ocean to that production of the most imaginative of modern poets. There is something at work in my soul which I do not understand. I am practically industrious, painstaking, a workman to execute with perseverance and labor. But besides this, there is a love for the marvelous, a belief in the marvelous, intertwined in all of my projects, which hurries me out of the common path and ways of men, and even to the wild sea and unvisited regions I'm about to explore. So there's just something in me that I can't stop thinking about this. I can't stop it. I have to go see what's out there. But to return to dearer considerations, shall I meet you again, after having traversed immense seas and returned with the most southern cape of Africa or America? I dare not expect success, yet I cannot bear to look at the reverse of this picture. Continue for the present to write me at every opportunity. I may receive your letters on some occasions when I need them the most to support my spirits. I love you very tenderly. Remember me with affection should you never hear from me again. Your affectionate brother, Robert Waltham. So it's getting real, because in the end, he's like, you know what, this is exciting, but also scary. You ever felt really excited but also nervous at the same time? Me too, that's what he's feeling right now. So he kind of ends that one with, remember me should I never see you again. So he knows there's a chance he's not coming back from this. Alright, so here's what you guys have for the rest of the class period to complete. Number 3, yes. Yeah, you want to listen real quick? Let me just go over this as we go. Number 3, you can Google that answer. You can look up the maps on Google. This is not a good map, but just look up the answer to where is St. Petersburg, what country, what hemisphere, close to what ocean. I'll put the map up on the board too. Number 11, look at the map of the North Pole. What is the goal of his efforts and why would this be important? The goal of his efforts is to create a new path to the North Pole. So I'll give you that part. The goal is to create a new path to the North Pole. But why might that benefit people? Okay? You can look that up on the internet too, like why would a new trade route benefit people? Or that's basically what I would look up, is why would a new trade route benefit people? Maybe food, medicine, etc. And then number 7. I forgot to tell you number 7. Do number 7, describe their relationship. So Robert and his sister, are they close? How do they treat each other? Look at the very beginning of letter 1, the very end of letter 2. So you have 3 questions to answer, and I've given you part of them. Does anybody have questions? Alright, this is due at the end of class. I'm giving you points for these, so make sure you guys get this done.